on, number 4, earned income tax credit. This is the most popular. We see a lot of signs that talk about how much you can get per child. However, again, there are limitations. So at this point, we know one of the major limitations is what? Age, number of children, and total home income. Okay? So for this specific credit, you have to look at the income that you have earned. And earned is critical because some individuals get Social Security. That's not earned. If you did not work for it, it's not considered earned. So it's not included in the calculation. Okay? In addition to that, it says the amount of the credit is also based on if you file a joint return or not. So individuals without children can still claim the earned income credit. However, the majority of the advertisements that we see is based on individuals with children. So here's a chart that was used for 2014, or will be used for 2014. Basically, you have the income limitations and how many children can basically qualify you for a specific amount. If you have 3 or more children, which you mentioned over here, it says that if you are a single person, the maximum you can make is $46,997. If you have 2, it goes to $43,756. And if there's a person with no children, the maximum they can make is $14,590. And then based on that, the person with 3 children making up under that income level can get a maximum credit of $6,143. And the person with no qualifying children can go all the way down to $496. In addition, they bring in investment income. And again, there are limitations to all of these credits and deductions. However, again, it talks about your total home income, the number of children. All right? Any questions about that? No? Everybody's clear on that? Let's move to number 5. Number 5 talks about collegiate, and we have individuals that are preparing for their children to move on to college. So as I mentioned before, when they leave the age of 12 and transition to a teenager, the credits start to shift. This is an example of a credit that shifts. So the higher education credits, there are 2. There's the American Opportunity Credit, which replaced the Hope Credit, and that is for the first 4 years of college. So if you have children that are preparing to go to college, you're going to be looking for the American Opportunity Credit. All right? And it tells you here the maximum credit for a child or per student is $2,500. Okay? In addition to that, they're looking at your modified adjusted gross income. Where was adjusted gross income? On what page of the 1040? Page 1, line number 37. So 37 is critical, okay? They're looking at line 37. They said if it's $80,000 or less, an individual could qualify, and if you're married, filing jointly, $160,000 or less, okay? And so you have to again look at total home income, number of children, age of child. All right, so here it tells you that, go ahead.
On here, is there any reason why they put modified in front of adjusted gross income?
Yes, because for those that have investments, some are included in modified adjusted gross income and some are not. And that's a little higher level, but yes, that's why they talk about modified adjusted gross income, because it considers what is included and what is not included in number 1. Okay? But yeah, that is another good question. All right, so the maximum credit is $2,500 for each eligible student. We talked about the married filing jointly and the single. We talked about 40% of the credit may be refundable. The rest is non-refundable. What do we say about refundable? How does it help you with your refund? What can a refundable credit do for you as a parent? it can exceed your tax liability and actually give you a refund, right? And then the other portion, a non-refundable credit, allows you to zero out your tax liability but doesn't allow you to get a refund. So what they're saying here is 40% of what you've spent on higher education costs can equate up to $2,500, and any amount that exceeded the $2,500 will only go towards zeroing out you owing the government. It wouldn't give you a refund. Does everybody get that? Any questions about that?
40% of the credit, the possible $2,500 credit is what you're saying?
40% of how much you spent in higher education costs. So let's just say you spend $10,000. Okay? 40% would give you a potential credit of $4,000 because that's 40% of 10,000, right? But the maximum you can get for this credit is $2,500.
Oh, I see.
So the difference between the $2,500 and the $4,000 would be $1,500. If you still owe taxes after you got the $2,500 credit, the $1,500 that's left over can reduce your taxes down to zero. But if you only owed $1,000, they're not going to give you the other $500. It's just going to reduce your tax liability to zero.
And those expenses include tuition, books, moving.
It includes books, tuition, and mandatory costs like health fees. All of that's included in a credit. However, if you receive scholarships and grants, it is reduced from that. So pretty much it's out-of-pocket money that the parent expenses or loan monies. But if it's free money that they do not have to pay back, they cannot claim it as a credit.
So you have to do it while the child's in college each year?
Yes.
You can't delay it at all?
No. It has to be for the taxable year that it was spent. Okay? Very good questions. So let's go over to the next page. Once your child has moved past 4 years and say they want to take up a master's program or an additional trade, they can qualify potentially for the lifetime learning credit. The lifetime learning credit is any type of education beyond the first 4 years, and there is no cap to it. Okay, so if they want to go on to get a law degree or doctoral degree, this is a credit that they can potentially qualify for as long as you're providing more than 50% of their income. Okay? So it talks about here that the maximum credit that you could get per return is $2,000. Okay? Similar to how the other credits work, it is non-refundable. So we know that non-refundable means what? If it's a non-refundable credit, it means what?
That it can zero you out?
It can zero out your tax liability, very good, but it will not enable you to get a
refund.
A refund, very good. All right, we're learning here. It says here that qualified expenses are tuition and fees required for enrollment or attendance, including amounts required to be paid to the institution to cover course-related books, supplies, and equipment. So if they ask for a computer, they have to have a special type of computer, special type of calculator, special books that may be only manufactured or published through the school. You can include it in that. All right? Number 6, tuition and fees deduction. All right? So what happens is, if it's a deduction, it does what? What page is deductions on for the 1040? We've been talking about credits, but what page are deductions on?
The first page.
The first page. All right, so now we're in the money. We understand that deductions are before taxable income, right? The deductions impact your adjusted gross income, and that number is being used for a lot of the credits.